Yes. I will just introduce in Danish, and then we will switch to English. Grunden til, at Zach og Lilas er på besøg i aften, det er, at vi har lavet den her avis i dag. Hvis I ikke har set den, så kan I tage den, når I går ud. Det er en avis, som udelukkende er skrevet af flygtninge. Og det er et initiativ, vi har taget, fordi vi synes, vi gerne vil give flygtningene en stemme. Vi har hjulpet med at oversætte, så den er på dansk. But most of our work has been in English. Because it is a very big step to start writing in Danish. One thing is to speak Danish, which you do partly, but to actually master the language in a way that you can work as a journalist is a big step. And I think that but most of you have been writing in English, a few in Arabic, and then we have done the translation and assisted, maybe also sometimes finding a few Danish sources that you might not be familiar with. For information, it's been a really big experience. We have been working with this newspaper for the last 3 weeks, having editorial meetings once a week, and the last few days here has been very intensive. You have been here at the newspaper basically from morning till evening the last couple of days. And what you are seeing here behind Zach and Lilas is some of the headlines from the newspaper. The numbers in top shows exactly how many people are reading this story just now on the internet. This newspaper has been very widely circulated and also has received a lot of attention in other media, in Danish media and abroad as well. Our latest update is that The Guardian has a story about our project as well. We are very proud to present this newspaper. And first I would like to give the word to Zach. Could you please tell the audience why you are here, why you're in the project, and which story you actually decided to do?
First of all, I think it is very important for me, and I think for the rest of us who work in the newspaper, and some of them are sitting in the audience here, Zainab, Nis, Susan up there. I think it's very important for us to thank you for taking this very big step. I have never heard about something like this. Giving a newspaper and trusting it to people that you don't know, people who are very controversial, people that have all the kinds of myths that go around, and entrusting them to your readership is a big step. So thank you to Information and everybody who came up with the idea. Back to the question, I wrote 2 stories for this. So my first story was on page 2, and this is normally we call it an editorial. So it's not a journalistic piece per se, so I don't go out and talk to people or interview people. It's more about an opinion that I feel. Of course, journalists are always human beings first of all, and then they're journalists second. So we have our personal opinion, and then we have to be journalists. So when I do a personal opinion, when I do an editorial, that's my personal opinion. It's my first voice about an issue that I feel so strongly about. And because today we were talking about the Nobel Prize, I felt like I should write about the Nobel Prize. The Nobel Prize has been given for many, many years, for every year. And I thought this year we are living at an extraordinary time. Thousands of refugees are fleeing, a lot of places have war, there's so much chaos in the world. And I just remembered 2010, I did a story about the Nobel Prize, and that year it was being given to Liu, a Chinese dissident. And then he could not go to Oslo to receive the prize. So it was an empty seat, and they put the Nobel Prize on the seat and a big function. And it was a very powerful picture to see that we are talking about peace when somebody who is receiving the prize is actually in jail. So it brought a lot of attention to the world. And I thought this year, if the Nobel Committee decided we are not going to give a peace prize this year because the world is chaotic, it would just bring a lot of attention to the suffering of the Syrians, the Yemeni people, and all the people suffering across the world. So that was my first story. I always talk a lot, so feel free to catch me. And my second story was right in the middle of the paper, and it's called the myths around refugees. When you hear the word refugee, what comes to mind? Even myself, when I hear the word refugee, I don't think about a highly educated Syrian doctor or a beautiful family of 3 people living a beautiful life. That's not what I think about. As a human being, when I think about a refugee, I think about all the pictures that I've been seeing in the media for many years. people without enough food and clothing, jumping into ships, and very poor and very sad. I look at them as victims. It's just a human nature, and that's the story that I've seen in the media for many years, and it has formed my perception about the word refugees. So I felt it very important that I had this opportunity, that I will try at least to share with the viewers what myths exist about refugees. And I chose three. There's so many myths about refugees, but I thought I chose three. First of all, that there's an argument that if we open the borders, all refugees, all Africans and people from the Middle East will suddenly want to come to Europe. You can read more about that. The other one was that refugees only come to these countries, to the developed countries, to take all our money. And the last one was that refugees can only be from Syria. Especially this argument has been made at the European level, and the politicians are trying to use this argument to turn away all the immigrants coming, especially from the Mediterranean. And there's a big crisis in the Mediterranean, especially people coming from Libya. They have been dying and a lot. And when the Syrian crisis came up, we forgot about the Mediterranean. Nobody's talking about it. The media is not talking about it. Politicians are not talking about it. So I thought it's important to touch on that story.
Thank you very much. And Lilas, would you try to tell us why you joined the project and which stories you did in the paper, please?
Yes.
And I have to say that Lilas is from Syria, right?
Yes, I am a journalist from Syria. I will speak in the beginning how we start, maybe before this project. We start a small network with IMIS and Danish Union of Journalists. A small network, we try to find the journalists, the refugee journalists in Denmark, and when information come and give us this chance to editing this newspaper, it make I don't know if it's a dream for us, but because we are professional journalists in our language, like Arabic language, your language, but it's very difficult to be a journalist in Danish media. And when Charlotte in the first meeting told us we will make all this copy, I feel it's possible to be in Danish media and to be like a window for us to let Danish people hear our voice, what we think about, and to see our skills also, because there is a lot of articles here, not just about refugee. It's like the film I write about it. There is a critic article. There's, I think, a lot of articles, not just about refugees. Maybe
you tell the story you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There is the article about the film. This film about the dream of the paradise, Euro paradise, maybe. How they came from Africa to.
This is the one.
Yes. Yes. This film. They came from Algeria to Libya, after that in the sea, to arrive to Italy.
Maybe we should explain that it's a review of a documentary that will be shown now here on the Copenhagen Docs.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And this is the first one. Maybe I try to take a destination between me and the film and write about it. But the second one, the second articles, it's a very personal article. It's some messages between me and my friend here.
Actually, it's your text messages.
Yes.
Going back and forth between Copenhagen and Damascus.
And Damascus,
right?
yes.
Your old friend in Damascus that you have not seen for a very long time.
Yes, from 2012. She is a writer. She lived in Damascus, and from 2012 until maybe last month, we didn't speak together. And when we sent messages together, I surprised because we have the same problems, but in different way. She is inside Damascus and I am in Denmark. She feels lonely, she is alone because there is no one now inside Syria, all people travel, and I feel alone because all my friends not near me, and sometimes people spend all their lives just to have 2 or 3 friends. The problems, it's not about how much we lost, because things you can have it and you can all the time make it, but the relations with these things, your memory, your life, your friends, it's most important. And that's what we lost it. That's the reason we have the same problem. Maybe she is still inside Syria and I am very far, but we have the same problems. But in different ways. She feel, but in these messages, I find, because it's a space for me when I send to her to tell her about my feeling as a refugee, how I experience everything again, new roads, new faces, a new feeling, new system, everything new. And she told me about her situation. And when I asked her why you don't want to travel, because she's in very bad situation, not just because of the war, because the dictatorial regime, and she's a writer. She told me people in Europe have, they are 2 kinds. Half hate us as refugees and half is sadness. And I don't want for me and my child to have this feeling. If not necessary, I will stay until last time to do that. And I think we have the same aim or the same purpose in our life. I want to protect my children when I travel, and she wants to protect her child from this feeling, not just in Damascus. She don't want to travel with him because she wants to protect him. Don't feel like this also. And I want to tell a small background. My friend, we studied together. We married in the same year. Maybe we separated the same year. We have a child, have the same name, and we didn't speak together like 4 years because sometimes when you miss someone so much, you cannot speak with him. You feel you cannot make this contact.
As you can probably hear, this is stories that has really affected Lilas to write this story, and also I think that you have been very affected by the work that you've been doing here. Both Lilas and Zach has been working as professional journalists in their home countries. You also as a social activist, and you've been a TV reporter, presenter later on in Egypt.
In Egypt and on TV.
Yeah, and as I understand it, you got in trouble with the Syrian regime because you were writing about the regime in Western media.
Yes, and also my program.
Yes,
a political program.
Yes,
here Damascus from Cairo.
Yeah, which was also critical of the and following the Syrian revolution and stuff like this. Could you, I don't know which one of you will try, maybe to explain what it has been like to come to Denmark with a very thorough professional background, and how has your experience been trying to use that in Denmark? Has that been possible at all in some way?
I think when you choose a career, they always talk about there's a career and there's a job. In a job, you wake up at 8 o'clock because you have to work for some boss and get some money and pay for your family, blah, 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 and it's a circular. But when you choose a career, it's something you have a passion for. It's something you do because you love. And for me, journalism has always been something I love. It's telling stories, it's meeting people, it's telling all kinds of different human emotions and sufferings and experiences. So that has always been a passion for me. And then journalism is very much tied to language. So it's very language specific. It's not like a doctor. When you're a doctor, you can treat people even though you don't speak the same language. But journalism is very much language specific. So when you are uprooted from a country like Kenya, I wrote in Swahili and English, and then you move to a country like Denmark, very homogeneous, especially in the media, is predominantly Danish. A little of English newspaper, very small newspapers coming up. It becomes very difficult for you to get into the profession again. And then you have to think twice, what is my second best option? So most of us, or most of the journalists that I know that have moved to countries like Denmark or Norway, then they try to do something else in communication in general or in consultancies and things like that. So I think in my own experience, it was very hard to know that I can't practice the thing I love very, very much. So when I first came to this paper 3 weeks ago, it was very refreshing for me, because again, journalism is like a lifestyle, and it's the same all over the world. When I worked in this, I realized that it's the same. The last time I worked as a journalist, apart from this, is 4 years ago, and you had an editor behind your back, and editors are always bad. They're pushing you on deadlines and calls late at night. And I came here and it's exactly the same. They're better editors here, but it's exactly the same experience. You know what I mean? That's my point. You know, late night calls, and you have to call Damascus and do an interview, drop the phone and call Barcelona and talk to an expert, and call University of Copenhagen and get a no, and you know, just is a rush. And
you have to admit you liked it.
I did love it. I did love it. So you miss the small things that you take for granted. For me, that is the hardest thing. I miss the small things. And when I did this project, I just felt at home. It's people I've never met, people from all over the world. But we just became a team, because it's exactly the same. She did the same in Egypt. She did the same in Afghanistan, in Thailand, in Syria, in Kenya. And then we just kicked it off, and we produced a newspaper in 3 weeks. So that's quite amazing for me.
Yeah, hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's someone in the public might have a question. You can post your question in Danish or in English, and I will translate. Other languages I don't think I can manage. Maybe you can manage the Swahili and do some Arabic. Okay, please, if you have any questions for Lilas and Zach about the background, the countries, the reason for being here. I can tell that both of you have got asylum. Yes. So you're safe, you can stay here at least for a while. You have 5 years, yes?
Without guarantee.
Without guarantee.
New rules without guarantee.
5 years you can stay, yes. And I think, Zach, that you have
5 years.
5 years also. Okay. Anyone wants to take the floor? No? Well, then I would like to ask you, what have you personally, what have you gained from this project? Do you think that you have a possibility to work as journalists in Denmark or in other languages? Do you have like a professional hope, or what are your plans for the future?
Yes, for me, sure. Because when I want to be part from any society, I have to speak with them. I have to deliver my opinion and also understand them. And I think the language is very important to do that. And the media now, all people take the informations from the media, special television. I don't know in Denmark, but I think in our countries the television is the main place people who take the information from it. And for me, I don't know how to do anything. I am a writer, and just I know how to write. And I love to be honest. I love to speak a lot, and all the time I want to earn money from my speech. And I cannot do anything else. If I want to think about any kind of work, I don't know. Just I want to be a writer, I want to be a journalist, and I have to dream to be that. And I think this project is very support us and tell us it's possible, and maybe push us to do that in the future. And just I want, maybe people here can read the articles and know about it, but I want to to mention about something happened to me this last 2 weeks. I feel more comfortable. This is the first time here, and now I'm working with IMES. And
maybe you just explain what that is.
IMES International Media Support. I just take asylum from last May and start working quickly because IMES support me and make contact with me.
IMS is an NGO that supports media in conflict areas, for example, Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places. But they have also started projects here in Denmark.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but still, because everything together, I didn't feel stability. But when I start as writing again, from 3 years I didn't write. I feel more comfortable, I feel happy, I feel comfortable in my house with my children. I didn't shout or speak with loud sound or feel nervous all the time. I feel more relaxed with them and happy and hug them all the time. And I think this best reflect I take it from this project, and that's the reason I want to thank you, because I have to normal life. That I think what we want. I think all refugees search for the peace. They fled from their countries because there is a war, there is problems, and they fled just because they want a peace. And I think it's very important if people help them to find this peace. They want just some respective and normal life.
So maybe, hopefully, we have been able to provide a little bit of normal life for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
And Zach?
If they don't have a question, I would like to pose a question to all of you. Do you read information? Who doesn't? Yeah. I think
anybody reads it, doesn't read the newspaper? Can you admit now?
You don't? No.
One.
No, but I would just like to make a challenge and free advertisement for information. I think when you read a newspaper, you also have to a little bit think about what is the philosophy of the newspaper. I think this is, like I said again, I have never had something like this. We often think NGOs, the media, the government, we always think we can speak for people, we can tell their stories. It's never the same. Sometimes it's just important to sit back and listen to what people have to say, people who are in the situation. So for years, refugees, NGOs have done jobs, media have done jobs of speaking about refugees. And it never gives people the initiative to tell their real story. And when the media takes that responsibility of speaking about everybody else, of course it's their job to report what's going on, they censor so much information, it's never a true picture. And like she said, today the media is our first point of information, and most of us will look at the media and that's it. We never go back and check and ask background questions or look for other sources. We trust what the media says.
And like people, when they say us, you don't look like a refugee. Why? But I'm a refugee.
So it's just important to I mean, like projects like this, to let people tell their stories. That's why I think this is very important.
We have a question here. Yeah. Is here first?
I tænker at lære dansk, og mener, det er vigtigt, at I gør det.
Have you planned to learn Danish? And do you find it important?
It's very important, very important. I'm learning Danish. I'm on module 3.
You're welcome to switch to Danish.
Jeg kan godt snakke dansk. Jeg er meget generet, når jeg snakker dansk. Og alle mine venner snakker engelsk til mig der her. Så de skal måske prøve at snakke til mig dansk lidt mere, så jeg kan practice og blive meget bedre til det.
Yes, sure. Because my children now, they speak Danish, and I think they make some plans against me, and I have to know
You can switch to Danish also. When we have made this project in English, it is because we have to have a common language for writing. Because when you do a first edition of the story, we have to be able to read it and to talk about it and to discuss it. And our common language then is English. It has been that for reasons of clarity simply. We would have liked to carry out the project in Danish, but it is really difficult writing in Danish. It is something specific. We have another question here, please.
Yeah, please don't get it wrong. This question is inspired by a meeting or a Syrian refugee that I once met. So, in spite of all the misery, what is the best thing that has come out of having had to leave your country? I mean, to live abroad, to be in diaspora. What's the best thing?
What is the best thing that you have experienced from leaving your country?
What have experienced if you wouldn't have left?
It's very complicated because the best things. I will tell you what. I think sometimes when you have a chance to experience everything again and have a chance to choose what you want again. Like normally in our countries we do normal things all the time and have a beautiful houses and everything, and when I travel I notice I never have had in my house my music, what I like, or my maybe favorite painter, or because all the time we follow the life. But now when I travel, not just to Denmark, also when I travel to Egypt, I start to know what the main things I love it. Now I enjoy in every moment in the life, because I think the things it's not very important. Now when I want to make my home, I will do it like what I want, what I love. You will experience, you will discover yourself again, what you like, what you love, what you want your life to be, because it's a new start. And I hope if I have choices in this new life, it's very important for me if I want to start at this age. It's very difficult to start in this age. I'm not so
You're
young.
36. 36. Just 36.
Yeah. But it's very difficult, really. But if I want to start, I want life what I like. And also another things, we discovered who's real friends. Because when you be far from your friends, and suddenly you discover who's touch you, who's really like you, the same mentality, the same feeling. You can make a conversation with him, because all the time you have a lot of friends in your country, and sometimes you spend and lost your time. But when you travel, you choose every moment, and you will know how to enjoy in your life.
Okay, we will have time for one final question. I think it's over here.
The ability information and to you too. I think it's good sitting in front of us and what we have heard the whole night here. And I think couldn't information or the other Danish newspapers use this? We heard so much from Danish. We think what it is, but now we have the real thing here. Do it in English and translate it. It must be the small thing.
We have all intentions of continuing the cooperation.
Yes, I hope
and
so.
if you would like to read more about Zach's story or Lilas' background, we have a short portrait of all the participants in the project on our internet website. Thank you very much.
Can I make a quick comment on that?
A quick one, yes.
The beauty of this country is a democratic country, and like where you come from and mine is somehow democratic. So if people really feel, I really believe in the idea of democracy, people really feel, enough people really feel that we need these kinds of things, you can make changes. You can pressure your newspapers, you can pressure your media, you can pressure your governments. We want more stories, we want refugees to be represented. You can do it, it's in our hands. That's the beauty of democracy. So of course Information can do what they want, but if we 2 billion people gather outside Christiansborg and tell them we don't want all this wishy-washy kind of media, we want real stories from real people, something can happen. So the challenge is on you.
So if we hear among our readers and visitors have people who have the need of a Syrian writer or TV presenter or a Kenyan writer, please come up here and talk to Zach and Lilas afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.